Hey there, you're watching the Jessa channel on YouTube. I'm Jessa, and today I'm here with more of The Raven, Ancestry of Lies. This is Chapter 2, hence the name change. We are no longer on Legacy of a Master Thief. We've moved on to Chapter 2 now, and we're here in Cairo. Specifically, we are at the Egyptian Museum, and we are now going to case the joint, as it were, and find out anything we can about tonight's exhibition of the Eye of the Sphinx. A great jewel, of which there are two. One has already been stolen by the Raven, so it's a pretty good chance that the Raven may make an attempt to steal the second eye this evening. We're playing Constable Anton Jakob Zellner, and here he is in all his glory. And let's look around and see what there is to see. The first thing is, I love the little plinky music that's playing. It's wonderful. Is Miss Miller, who you remember from our cruise over from, oh goodness, I forgot where we started. Over to Cairo here, so she was on the cruise with us, and her lively son Matt. So let's talk to her first.
Miss Miller, I'm glad to see you here.
Oh, Constable Zellner. I heard what happened to you on board. Awful, truly awful.
All's well that ends well. You are waiting for Professor Lucien?
Mm-hmm.
She and Professor Lucien, who's also a suspect in this, there's been a murder, and there's been a robbery, and there's been, there's been a lot of shenanigans going on. But Miss Miller, who is also Clarissa Westmacott's caregiver, I guess you'd say. Anyway, seems to have fallen a bit for Professor Lucien, so let's find out what she has to say about him.
Were you able to find out why Professor Lucien left the forecastle so suddenly last night?
No, not really. We only had a brief conversation. He was still very nervous.
He was like that on the train as well. Seems to be typical of him.
It must be something to do with the burglary at the museum. It really affected him. But he told me not to worry about anything. He said, soon this would all be over.
Really? How did he mean that?
Oh, I didn't ask him, Constable.
Alrighty.
Tomorrow you'll be sailing down the Nile, if I heard correctly.
That's right. I'm sure it will be an amazing experience.
But you don't seem to be very excited.
Oh, but I am. It's very generous of Lady Westmacott to invite me, and especially Maddie. He'll learn a lot.
But?
Well, Professor Lucien offered to join us.
Then Matt will learn even more. And I'm sure it won't be unpleasant for you either.
No, I just don't know how Maddie would react if Edgar came with us.
I understand. I could test the water to see how he'd feel about it.
Would you do that? Oh, thank you, Constable Zellner.
Good. Give us an excuse to talk to Maddie again. He's a lively boy.
Are there other passengers from the ship here?
Oh, yes, we arrived as a group. David Kreutzer, the violinist, was with us. So were Miss Myers and Mr. Inch. He seems to have gotten over the death of the Baroness pretty quickly. He seems positively relaxed.
I've met him. He looks on the bright side of life, so to speak. Where is Mr. Kreutzer?
He's over in the treasure chamber. Maddie is downstairs in the main hall. I'm afraid I'll hear the sound of something priceless shattering any second.
Matt will be careful, Miss Miller. I'll continue my tour of the museum.
Oh, yes, there's so much to see.
Oh, yes, there's so much. Anyway, Miss Miller, she's kind of milk toasty, but she's been through a lot, and she's got quite a boy on her hands, so I can't blame her. Anyway, for being a bit kind of tired. Let's go to the rear area. Yeah, there's not really much else to look at over here, so... Oh, into the main hall this way. Or to the rear area. Let's go to the main hall, because That's probably where all the juicy stuff is happening. And I would really like to get a word in with Mr. Kreutzer, as it were. Oh, look at this. Joy! Oh my god, this is awesome. Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm kind of a little bit speechless here just because I really do like the Egyptian history. It's wonderful. By the way, if you have ever been to Cairo, well, first of all, lucky, lucky, lucky you. And second of all, let me know in the comments if you've been to Cairo or even live in Cairo. Wow, look at all this. I just want to look at everything. I just want to, like, click on everything. Ah! Okay.
Ah, I've heard of this. Desert glass. In the great sand sea of the Libyan desert, there's a region where natural glass is found. Nobody knows how it formed. The valuable material was often used for jewelry in ancient Egypt.
Yes, I have actually watched several documentaries on Egyptian glass, and some people say it was actually aliens that did it, but there seems to be a group of people who believe that pretty much anything that's unexplained in ancient history is due to aliens. You know, as it were. Let's see what we have over here. Examine the statue.
This is Akhenaten, the only pharaoh whose portrait I always recognize. He has a very unusual head.
Yes, that's how you want to be remembered after many years of ruling a country. You have an unusual noggin. Akhenaten, yeah.
Akhenaten was the husband of Nefertiti and the father of Tutankhamen, a famous family. But he went down in history as the pharaoh who wanted to eliminate the old gods and replace them with a single god. The priests took offense, and he died of unknown causes.
Yeah, that was probably not the wisest choice to make as a pharaoh. Hey, by the way, those gods that you guys have been worshiping, they're out, laid off, and we have a new god. His name is Tom, so bow down. It's a good way to get offed in ancient Egypt.
Several daggers in a row. Their shapes and patterns look timeless, elegant. What does it say here? The dagger on the left is a replica of the dagger from the tomb of Tutankhamen. It must have been incredibly precious during his lifetime because it's made of iron. Thousands of years before the Ice Age, meteorites were the only source of pure iron. So a star that fell from the sky, bringing a substance that's harder than anything they'd known before, would have been a dramatic event. No wonder they used it to forge a weapon for the godlike pharaoh.
Yeah, that would definitely be what they would do with it. That's awesome. Oh, here's Lady Westmacott. Lady Westmacott is the lovely person who's modeled after Agatha Christie, who is going down the Nile with Mary Miller, who we just saw. And by the way, I want to remind you that this is taking place in 1960s. I do forget the exact date, but in the 60s. So I really enjoy this murder mystery, the old-time feel of it, as it were. Well, 60s isn't really old-time, but you know.
Aha. This shows how the ancient Egyptians were able to move the heavy blocks of stone to build their pyramids and temples. They used ropes, wooden sleds, and poles as levers.
Yeah. Also, once again, if you have seen the pyramids with your own eyes, boy, I'd love to know that.
These exhibits aren't originals, of course. They're reconstructed, based on old pictures. Nonetheless, it's impressive how they managed to build monuments like the pyramids with such simple tools.
It is amazing. The pyramids are amazing. Okay, let's see if there's anything else we can look at here. By the way, if you paid attention after the credits, ooh, there's a figurine over here to examine. And I'm going to see if there's anything over here. I, of course, want to examine everything. I thought I saw my mouse go over something here, but I guess I didn't. Just Lady Westmacott. But, oh, darn it, I did that thing where I forget what I was going to say. I have a terrible habit of doing that. I do apologize. It'll come back to me, hopefully.
A figure of Imhotep, who comes in peace from around 2700 BC. The first polymath known by name, godfather of medicine, architect of the first pyramids, and according to legend, the inventor of Egyptian writing. He certainly achieved more than me in his life.
Yeah, well, we're trying to make up for lost time with you, Zellner. You're doing a pretty good job of rucking up a whole bunch of trouble. Okay, I think that's it as to what we could click on, so let's go on and talk to Lady Westmacott, Lady Clarissa Westmacott.
Impressive, isn't it? Thousands of years old and still beautiful.
That it is. They dug it out of the sand near Thebes over 50 years ago. I was there.
Really?
I met my husband there. He was an assistant on the dig and was ordered by the director of the excavation to take care of that writer. I financed many excavations in the following years, here in Egypt and in the Near East. I visited my husband, together with our son. It was the best time of my life. But a museum is no place for nostalgia. What can I do for you?
She's wonderful. Now, most of that she just said is absolutely true. Agatha Christie did meet her second husband, Max Mallowan, a very good archaeologist in his own right, who was later became Sir Max Mallowan. And they stayed married from the 40s, I believe, until her death in 1977. The only thing that's not true about that particular Agatha Christie aspect is that she had a daughter, not a son. She had a daughter named Rosalind, and she had one son, a grandson named Matthew, who's still alive, and who's a very, very wealthy man due to the fact that she signed the rights of the Mousetrap play over to him. Therefore, that play, which is still running, the longest running play in history, all the royalties go to him. So, let's talk about her son, her fictional son, here in the game.
Your son? You haven't said much about him. Or perhaps you did, just not by name.
You're an attentive listener, Mr. Zellner.
I was wondering why you knew so much about Miss Miller's unhappy marriage.
I stopped paying his bar tabs, stopped paying reporters to hush things up. He got to know her and went with her to America to start a new life. You can change your name easily, but not who you really are.
Here comes trouble.
He has my eyes, doesn't he?
The Part 2 novel is for him, isn't it?
If I couldn't provide Matthew with a good father, then at least I can provide him with a good start in life.
So, I just want to be really clear on what I just heard. She's saying Matthew is her son? Huh. I'm going to check the journal to make sure I heard that correctly, because I'm really surprised about that. That's very surprising.
You've had a long and successful life, Lady Westmacott.
What's that supposed to mean, Mr. Zellner? That I should be ready to leave the stage? Because I'm not.
Oh, I didn't want...
I'm here because life is here, Constable. Or was. I have never lived as much as I have here. No fame, no money can buy that.
I understand.
I'm sorry, Constable Zellner. Such an outburst isn't fitting for a woman of my age. And an English woman at that. Let's talk about something else.
Like if you're not English, that gives you right to go ahead and have a big fit everywhere. All All right, let's talk about the murder investigations, because I'm sure she has picked up some clues, perhaps herself. She's very, very observant.
When I was working on the ship, I felt like one of the detectives in your novels.
You were lucky. It was an unusual murder. Most murders happen in the heat of the moment or are committed by idiots. They're uninspired. But Gebhardt thought it through. He could have succeeded.
I don't know. He made too many mistakes.
He couldn't have known that the Baroness, almost unconscious from the drugs, would lock her cabin door.
But that was a risk. The plan was too complicated and sloppily executed.
You certainly are a harsh critic, Mr. Zellner.
He could have shot her on the side deck and thrown the weapon into the sea. With no witnesses, no one would have suspected him.
How boring.
Or if it had to be a complicated plan, then he should have worked more carefully. Should have thought of everything, had a plan B in place.
Maybe he didn't have enough time. He had only a few hours to plan and commit the murder.
Still, he should have covered his tracks more carefully. The audio tape, the bloody glove, none of that should have stayed in the medical center.
You know, he has a very good point. I mean, Dr. Gebhardt did leave a remarkable amount of evidence behind, which still makes me think that there's a lot more to this story that we haven't found out about yet. There's someone, almost like a shadowy figure, standing behind Dr. Gebhardt, and that's who the Raven is or connected to. I don't think Dr. Gebhardt was doing that all on his own.
Do you think that Dr. Gebhardt was the Raven?
Was? Do you think he's dead?
The letter sounded like he committed suicide.
There's your answer. Does that sound like the Raven? Being unmasked? Taking the easy way out?
My sentiments exactly. The Raven wouldn't commit murder, get caught, and then jump into the sea.
You don't want everything to be over, do you?
It's my chance to do something great. It can't be over yet.
At least you solved the murder of the Baroness. You're a hero.
That's not how the newspapers see it. Nor I. Something's missing. I can achieve more.
Careful, Constable. He who flies too close to the sun...
Is that the myth of Icarus?
To be honest, no. The story is Greek, and was only written down 1,000 years later. I was counting on the dramatic effect.
Oh, worked well enough.
I know, I was all like, oh wow, that's just so amazing. Oh, wait, never mind. Let's talk more about the Raven.
Let's assume that the thief is still out there. Who is he?
If all this were a novel, then it would be the one you least expect.
Is that intended to be a confession, Lady Westmacott?
What do we know about the new Raven?
He's a man who would stop at nothing.
Must it be a man? And how do we know that it's just one person? There could be several people collectively pretending to be the Raven.
So, we don't know anything.
That's not completely true. We know that he or she wants the eye of the Sphinx, and will probably strike here, assuming he or she hasn't already gone.
It may be the end of the story for me, Lady Westmacott. Inspector LeGrand will arrive soon and send me to the hotel. I'll return tonight for the gala, hoping all the while that the Raven does dare to attempt a burglary. Tomorrow morning, I'll have to return to Switzerland. What an unsatisfactory ending that would be.
It wouldn't be a triumphant ending, but it could be worse. At least you'd still be alive, Constable.
Excellent point. Being alive is always, as far as I'm concerned, a happy ending. Let's talk about the gala tonight. The gala.
Will you attend the gala tonight,
Gala?
Lady Westmacott?
But of course, the antiquities, the delightful atmosphere, and who knows, perhaps there will be another spectacular burglary.
And your cruise?
The ship doesn't leave until tomorrow, and believe me, I'd cancel the cruise for this.
As always, it was an entertaining and enlightening chat, Lady Westmacott.
I'm going to miss our little chats, Constable Zellner. Goodbye.
So let's go straight over and talk to Maddie. this lovely boy here, because I think he overheard some of that, and I want to know what he has to say.
Ahoy, Matt.
The statue was talking.
The statue was talking?
Yes.
And what did it say?
It said it was...
That's a very bad word.
I know.
And an English one. Don't you think it's odd that an old Egyptian statue speaks English?
Don't you think it's odd that a statue speaks at all?
That would have been my next question.
Okay, so once again, Maddie is right on it. Perhaps there's some sort of secret area back here behind this statue? A quick way to get in and out of this room? Possibly.
And, is the statue talking to you right now?
Do you think I'm nuts?
No, of course not. I just thought you might have much better ears than me. Ears that can hear statues.
Some cop you are, Mr. Zellner. This is a mystery, and you're just making jokes.
You're right. It's just...
Don't you believe me?
Oh, I believe you.
We both agree that a stone statue without a mouth or vocal cords cannot speak, right?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Okay, that means you heard something else, and we have to find out what or who it was.
Roger.
That kid is growing on me.
I'm almost a bit envious of you. Going up the Nile on a ship, it must be great.
Yeah, I guess.
You don't sound so keen.
I think my mom wants the professor to come too.
And you don't? You can't tell me.
What if Mom marries the professor and doesn't work with the lady anymore? We'd have to move to London, and I'd have to go to a new school.
Two choices here. Tell her that you don't like it, or did you think of her at all? And I don't like that second choice. It's very accusatory. I think Matt has a good reason to be worried. Having your life change, and you've just gotten used to it, and he's already had enough changes as it is. So let's go with option number 1.
You could tell your mother that it's not okay with you. She'd never do anything against your will, would she?
I guess you're right. If I'm stubborn enough, she'll definitely send the professor packing. Thanks!
Ah, this we have to see. The eye is coming.
It is? Where? Where? I want to see it! I want to see it! Oh boy, here it comes.
This will all be over soon. Then I'll finally have time for you.
We wanted to head back to the hotel.
Certainly. And tonight at the gala, I'll show you around the museum, okay? And have you made up your mind about the cruise?
Well, I don't really know.
I only see you on vacation, Mom. And now you want the professor to come too? So I'll see you even less?
You're right. I'm sorry, Professor Lucien. I think it's best if you don't join us.
But Mary...
Professor, are you coming?
Maybe we can talk about this again tonight.
Should we go back to the hotel?
I want ice cream. Actually, Mr. Zellner still owes me some.
Meddling old man. Even though I was the one who meddled. But it's all his fault. Although I do think that Professor Lucien would have done better to actually try and talk to Maddie himself instead of talking directly to Mary, even though Maddie's right there. So anyway, what I wanted to know about was Lady Clarissa. Grandmother. Okay, I got it. Grandmother. All right. I was like, Matt's mother? Okay, I don't think that's right. Lady Westmacott is Matt's grandmother. She has a son from whom she's estranged. He married a young American woman and they moved to the USA. She had a son. That explains why Lady Westmacott is so interested in Matt. Maybe she wants to make up for what happened with her son. Got it. Okay. So that's one little mystery solved there. In the next episode, we're going to go over here to the rear area. We're going to try and find David Kreutzer, the violinist. We're going to talk to Professor Lucien if possible, and just continue to examine everything that we can before we get to the great gala tonight, which is going to be so exciting. I cannot wait to see what happens. I'm sure something exciting is going to happen. And I hope you'll join me there. I hope also that you enjoyed what you saw today, and if you did, please hit the thumbs up button below. It really does encourage me, all your comments, and I love how many people are coming up with great theories. You guys are really good detectives. I mean, I read the comments and I'm like, oh, that's genius. I never would have thought of that. So keep them coming, and if you loved what you saw, join the party, the ever-growing party, and subscribe. I'll see you back here in Cairo in the next episode. As always, thank you so much for watching. Get every new Jessa channel video right in your email inbox. Subscribe, then from your YouTube homepage, click Manage Subscriptions, then check Email with new uploads. And thanks for watching.